I was talking about it was different from this last month, this month.
So A and B has more than just transportation.
It's just transportation between A and B. Last month to this month, that is where the changes that were made from GOB. That was my mistake. Okay. Clarifying.
Okay, any other questions? All right, on C, the homestead, farmstead inclusion. Every year we offer the county an assessed real estate value reduction for the purpose of reducing the taxpayers' school tax amount. We encourage all taxpayers who qualify for this program that make sure you apply with the county assessment office annually by March. This is something that we do every year. This is something that looks at if you qualify, please take advantage of it. That's basically what we're looking at there. If there's any questions, comments, do the homestead farmstead exclusion, sorry.
Support for local and establishment. Good look to see that, please. Sounds like you've been there. We have one in Hanover. You can go to Target in Hanover.
All right, is there any other thoughts on that? Then we'll go to D. Of the transfer of funds of general fund to the capital reserve pending results of the 2024-25 financial audit. This amount will be determined in the fall. It's pretty much self-explanatory.
I want to comment on that though. Once again, last year, I asked Tom when this came up, first time I've ever had to deal with it. I said, are you anticipating any surplus that you're going to put in here? And Tom says, well, it's just a placeholder. Is it going to be mandatory for this board every year we get surpluses to stick it in capital projects? I mean, we have so many other expenses, obviously, that we're incurring.
This, like I explained, the finance committee will discuss where, if we ever want to put funds in the capital reserve, this is the place where we put, they can put $1 in. I need to have it approved prior to the end of the fiscal year in June 30th.
Correct, I understand.
So that's where it's like, if we even have $1, we want to put it, we have to do this. So when October comes and we want to choose where to put the funds, that will be discussed, and then the board will have an action about whatever funds would go into capital reserve at that time. Officially put the dollar amount. Right now it's basically has no dollar amount. It could be zero. We just don't call action on it in the fall.
Thanks.
Any other thoughts or questions on that? Okay, E, transferring the future of Emmett Middle School and High School assigned fund balance from general fund to capital reserve to pay for construction expenses on an as-needed basis up to the total assigned $6,100,000 pending approval of final budget. We've kind of danced around this before. Just needs to be made mention. And does anybody have any thoughts or questions concerning E? All right, looking at F, recommended, the Utica National Insurance is our general liability insurance and Eastern Alliance for workers' compensation insurance providers for the 2025-2026 school year. I don't know if there's any questions on that.
Okay, Tom, sorry to bother you again. On this insurance, you said it went up. Do we know about how much?
Yeah, it was around 26,000.
What I've seen, a lot of school districts use this company.
Which one?
Utica.
Correct. Yeah, they do underwrite a lot of schools.
It's not anything we did, it's just inflation, I suppose.
Correct. It's industry-wide.
Yeah, that's what I did. This is just the liability for workers' comp.
Utica covers basically our property, general liability,
Okay.
fire, auto, umbrella coverage, and then Eastern Alliance strictly covers our workers' compensation.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Any other thoughts or questions? We'll go to G, letter of agreement with True North Wellness Services for June 30th, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 at no cost to LASD. Any thoughts or questions on that?
Big question. Why did it cost me all these things? I think that's just a good question.
Was there a big cost?
No, I'm just asking.
They've been here in the district a little long before me, and they provide counseling service, but they bill insurance.
Oh, okay. That explains it.
They do virtual counseling.
So they just leave room for our students.
Yeah, so if we don't have students, like if for some reason a parent wants to use that resource, they can use that resource. And
Instead of waiting
on
all
my
time to get an appointment.
So, I just have a question for you, Tom. It says no cost to the district, but are there hard costs associated with fulfilling our part of the contract, meaning we provide rooms, we provide internet, we provide staff, all of that is no cost?
Correct.
All right. H, the 25-26 River Rock contract. 1, reservation of the secondary slots in elementary services. 2, Act 48 program placement at Marine. Questions or thoughts on H?
Is 2 going to be enough?
I never know. I mean, those are slots for current students. We don't know what
What's this reservation for Joe?
students there now.
I think it takes more than that.
Okay, any other questions, thoughts on H? On I, the PSDLAF and the PLGIT as the district's depository and banking institution for the 2025-26 school year. This is something that we use all the time.
This is just a formality to have these.
Okay. J, the transportation agreement with Price Transportation beginning at 2025-26 school year, ending at 2030 school year, with an optional 5-year extension. Are there any thoughts or comments on this? Kind of danced around at the different budgets, but this is now the time to talk about it.
I'm sorry. I was a bit concerned, and I noticed that they lowered the amount of buses last year. And I guess this came out of your meeting that I attended.
They lowered the amount required.
Required, okay, required.
If you go above it, there's no penalty. But we lowered the ceiling, or we lowered the floor, so that there's no cost to the district. If we go below that number, we'll be able to pay that 35%.
Right, what you were concerned about. It should be. I often worry though, when you split a contract up like that, here's my worries about Christ. And it's my question. Once we take Christ on, and they're already here for some of our stuff already, understand? We lose our buses. We lose our upper hand when it comes to renegotiating contracts. Because we no longer can say, well, we're done with you, we'll see you tomorrow, and we have to borrow buses again. That concerns me. Because we're only going to have 2 buses, I believe, and maybe 4 vans, according to Tom. And if we try to leverage that 5 years, Christ is just going to come back and say, because they already tried the 355 rate, as you stated in the meeting, which was higher than the 340 rate that you talked about they already have. You're right. You were exactly right, and I was listening to you. I'm concerned at 350, I think they only dropped it by $5, I understand. It's really, to me, is not really a big move. And it concerns me. I've had bus drivers tell me that if they don't get a raise this year, they're not coming back. I've had this crazy, I mean, there's so much dilemma with this, and it's happening so fast. My biggest concern is where do we go from here, considering that the immediate rate went up, period, it went to 343 million, let's just say, and we gave it 5 years. What's going to happen at the end of 5 years? Because they're going to renegotiate, and they're going to know we don't have any buses. They're going to know they got us. That's what my concern is. But we also have 8 very aging buses out here, as Carl has said. He's correct. Very aging. They need to be replaced. A lot of them. That's another issue. I'm weighing the options. Because once we make that move, as you said, Nick, in the meeting, where you're right, once you make that move, we're locked in. And you were correct when you said it. I have some concerns about it. That's all. I just think it's happening so fast. Come up with last decision. I mean, what your thoughts on it, I don't know, but I agree with what you were saying, that you're correct.
Yeah, I'm still contemplating. My biggest concern, I'd say, if you're asking, is that I went into this expecting that, and from the conversations that I had, that we're paying our drivers whatever we're paying our drivers, and then we're paying this payment and price for each route that they come in and drive every day, which is several times more than what we're paying our drivers. And I was expecting that when we go all in with price, or with another vendor, they would come in and the prices would be lower than that, whatever it was. In my mind, it was 300 or so. And I was assuming that that would be a lower fee. But even though we're probably going to be paying when we pay our drivers, we're not going to be paying the substitute fee, because that's the whole thing with the kind of went, what was the expression we used? Kind of what we have less internal drivers than we do outsourced.
Correct.
So, but to then go all outsourced at a higher rate than what our current outsourced people are, that's where I'm struggling.
So what you're saying is you were expecting we were going to save money.
Correct.
Correct. Very good.
I know we all know we were going to save money.
And we have to address the issue of the drivers in some
Correct.
manner, because we can't get drivers. We need to take care of the drivers that we do have.
We're aging buses.
We have aging buses. It's a whole
Quagmire.
thing. But that's the part that just I can't seem to wrap my head around why we're paying more for when we're locking in a 5-year or 7-year contract. Why we're paying more per route per day than what we pay them to where they're on a day-to-day rate. And one day they can be there, the next day they're not. There's no guaranteed money. It's on call.
And then goes one, they can say, we don't want to sell today, find somebody else. 2, they're not having to think about the buses that they're going to have to replace. And 3, they're already paying for their unemployment insurance for that, so you have to add on to that on their contribution. So you have to remember, you have all those costs, but when you come in and take over fully, then you've got to worry about keeping the buses, get bus driver A that's working for price, is it going to make it, you have to have that bus driver A decides then that he needs to cost 6 per day, there needs to be a substitute for bus driver A. So they got to put that person on payroll at some point. Those are all in costs when you're doing business, when you go in and sign a contract and say, you're going to show up with 11 buses, X number of vans on every single day, and make sure that you've got people like Christian that are showing up every single day. And if you don't have that where they can do it, you don't have the luxury of saying, well, okay, we can call them as a substitute. You don't have that luxury. You are the substitute. You are the employee.
None of those costs justify a higher rate than substitute service in my mind. And the fact is that why would any district have to do a multi-year contract? Why wouldn't every district just get their substitute rate and bring all their substitutes in?
Why are there only 3 districts in the entire state that still has their own bus fleet. I mean, it's the same type of rhetorical question that you can ask. It's why?
But why would we, why, that's, I mean, Tim, you have to acknowledge, it's,
I understand.
why are we gonna pay more money? I could even see the argument if it was the same. If it was the same, say, it's the same service, or it's a substitute, but that still doesn't make sense.
The substitute service you're basing off of is from last year. They haven't had a year to give us a new one, which could be either rated 350 or 355. So you're basing off of 24 current years. When they did it back last
I would say
year.
it was still represented.
And they're locking
Some
in
kind
that
of
rate,
savings.
they're locking in that rate for the next 5 years,
Yeah.
plus the nominal COLA increase.
So they're locking it in plus a guaranteed increase for themselves every year.
And Tom, to that point, you just made a brilliant point. If they did it from last year to this year, what's to say they're not going to do it to us in 5? They are. They're going to hit us hard because they know they have silver barrel, as Nick said, silver barrel, because we have the buses.
What are we gonna do, Mr. Sullivan? I'm not sure I understand what you're saying, what
Oh.
they're going to do
We
Well-
raise the rate every
every 5 years.
Yeah.
5
After
years,
the
it's
5
really
years.
raising real high.
Because potential to keep it the same. These are the things that we don't know.
Yeah, agreed. That's what
And
we're at.
that's exactly why I shared in Adams County, it's a close-knit community, and it's about building partnerships and working with other businesses, and I think it's important to maintain quality partnerships with others, as opposed to trying to ensure that we have the cheapest sub-rates here, the cheapest rates here. I think the overall package is very close. And if you understand and look at it, we're getting hung up on route running, but we're not hung up on they're reimbursing us at 100% for fuel costs. So when you talk about routes and you managing fuel costs, that company that does that will change that ratio. Okay, you want lower rates, then you buy all the fuel. So it's a balance and a negotiation between partners to try to see what works best for both. We're certainly not trying to put Price out of business by having a bad contract. And I don't believe Price is trying to put us over a barrel by having a contract that is exorbitant. I think it is all about building relationships and having partnerships. And when you take a look at this, the one thing that I do want to point out, the budget that we have that's on the document that I've provided does not include $140,000 that we would keep in the budget for a new bus next year if we were going to keep a fleet. That would put us almost even with the overall cost. The second part that I would say is when you say that Price would have us over a barrel to negotiate because they know we do not have our own fleet, you are correct. We don't have our own fleet. It is not a question here, in my opinion, about a contract of whether or not to go with Price or not. It's a decision based on the number of drivers that we have and the situation that we have moving forward. If we go there, we're now negotiating with other vendors and other contractors, not in-house. So then you put the competitive bid out to other vendors if Price comes back and says, we want to significantly increase your rates. And again, I'll come back to building partnerships, working with people, building relationships, not having a reason for others to try to hurt or hinder another organization. So the more relationships that we can build, the more we can do for our students, which this is really what it's all about.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure we already have a relationship with Price. They already do. They already have, do they have a 7-year contract with us now with a special ed?
No,
No.
that's Lincoln.
That's Lincoln.
They currently have a 4-year contract on phase 4 with athletics. In 2020.
Yes.
And Tom, you may not know the answer to this, how many other bus avenues do we have? And I'm saying vendors, in your opinion, in the area, that could do what Christ
I
did.
think we know about 4 or 5, but within this process, we get 2 that are willing to submit bids here.
Oh, wow.
At the time. So it does not to say that they wouldn't in the future, but at the time, we had that, please, Flora, if you're correct me about, that 4 or 5 inquired information throughout the RFP process and asked questions.
The better the relationship that we can maintain with others outside would also, I would say, significantly impact the number of future bids that we would get if we needed to get to that spot. We may have a wonderful relationship with Price, and we may have some really great favorable things that happen that would lead to a simple extension. And we may not. But to me, the opinion is it's about what we can do for our drivers, our community, and what we can do moving forward.
I'll say that we are never going to have a better negotiating window than now. We're never going to have more leverage than now because we're not forced